You're listening to Charting the Future, a podcast for independent pediatricians by PCC. For more information about our software and services, please visit www.pcc.com or visit us on social media.
Welcome, friends, back to Charting the Future with Chip Hart from PCC. This is actually one of the more fun things I get to do for work. I talk to friends. It's great. Today with me, I have Dr. Stephen Hirsch. We've been friends for a long time, actually, and I'm going to let him introduce his practice and answer the usual questions, but welcome, Dr. Hirsch. How are you?
Thanks, Chip. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
You know, they've got the Roto-Rooter guys are out in front of our building. Like, if this glass weren't frosted, you would see this giant septic truck.
Uh-huh.
And when they come and do that, it makes everything smell like I'm at a farm. It's awesome. So fortunately, the podcast is not in Smellorama. You just have to hear or watch it.
4D.
So anyway, Dr. Hirsch, my first question to you, before you tell me about your practice, is: do you remember where we met? Because this is an instance where I think I do.
Yeah, Chip,
remember where we met?
Yeah, I had to do a little research for this one, but I think I have it right. I think it's 2009. Are we on the same page here?
Oh, I didn't know the year.
Yeah,
that sounds right, though.
No, because so I had just opened up my practice in 2007. You know, I was very excited. You know, I want to make the best practice ever, and this is the long. I'll give you the longer story now. So so when I hired the practice, I hired a practice consultant because back in 2007, that was what everyone told me to do. Is like, you've never done this before, and there's just one company that was like the go-to practice consultant, practice management. You open up a medical practice, you go there. So I said, well, of course I'm going to do that because I want this to be the best practice ever. So I hired this person, this group, and it became readily apparent that their advice just wasn't that great for me. It just didn't. It was just going to be like the same stale advice for a different
cookie
practice.
cutter.
And I was like, you're not asking the right questions. You're not guiding me the right way. I'm like, I think I know more about this than you do, even though I've never done it before. So I quickly parted ways with them. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out myself. And for better or for worse, because I had been about 15 months from my old practice to my new one, because I was with a different practice for a couple years at residency, nobody really knew I opened the practice. When I opened,
I didn't know.
Like in May 2000, well, the old practice had just said, oh, he went to work in a hospital. He's not doing primary care, which is, I went to work in a hospital. They need a job for a year. But anyways, so I opened the practice in May 2007 with like no patients. I opened it on Monday and my first appointment was until Wednesday. I had like 7 appointments my first month. Okay. So that's a little intimidating. So I did a lot of moonlighting. I worked 3 different places. I would leave the office hours and go work at urgent care, work in nursery. Anyways, but the long story short is that it gave me time to think about the practice and how to manage it and how to grow it. Because I wasn't overwhelmed with patients when I opened, which was a good thing in hindsight, which is hard to imagine that's a good thing in hindsight to have no business when you open your business. But it gave me time to focus on what was important. And this answers your question of how we met. So anyways, so what I realized was that I didn't ethically, morally want patients to come in for appointments when they didn't have to come in for like sick visits. It just bothered me. And it's like, even though they might have wanted, I was like, you know what, you have a pink eye. You don't really need to come in. Let me just give you some here. Take some drops if you want. Or, your child, they're limping a little bit, but it just started today. Give them a couple of days. And, I really just didn't feel like it was, it would be good morally for me to bring these people in. So anyways, I didn't have very many patients. Then it gave me room to grow and I started getting more checkups. And I realized, you know what? If I don't have patients coming in for sick visits, I don't have to, I can see more checkups. And I love checkups. Checkups are great. I can spend more time at checkups. And they even pay me better too than the sick visits. I'm like, oh, this is a good system. So let me just keep giving my families this advice. And therefore, I also had a more open schedule. So patients who want to come in for pink eye, then come on and be my guest, but you don't have to. So anyways, I started tracking the sick visit to checkup ratio on my own. I was like, this is a really important number. I'm going to track that and I'm going to see how that works because, wow, I'm seeing more checkups and sick visit. That was a cool thing for me. And I started tracking it. Okay. So 2009, I'm at the AAP conference. I try to go every year. It was in DC. That's why I forget the year. And then I went to this practice management conference. I was a little skeptical on practice consultants because I didn't have the great experience. And this guy with this catchy name, easy to say, Chip Hart, is up there lecturing about practice management. So I go there and then you talk about like important metrics and you put up on the screen the sick visit to checkup ratio and how important that is. And I was like floored. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the only other person I've ever seen who actually believes in that metric. And this is really important. I'm like, wow, I was so excited. So when you finished talking, I don't know, I ran up to you and says, oh, hi, I introduced myself. And
Mhm.
is that your memory? I don't know. And I said, I'm going to
So,
follow this
yeah,
guy because I think I really like what you have to say. And what I told my wife was like, Jen, this guy like cares about my practice almost as much as I do. He's not even a pediatrician, but he's like advocating for me. And I was really impressed. I was like, well, I got to follow this guy. So that was the start, 2009. Was that about right, Chip?
well, so my memory was,
Yes.
I didn't remember what show it was,
Yes.
and it makes sense
It
that
was
it
in
was at
DC.
the
I can
DC.
picture it in DC.
Yeah, yeah, because that could have been Children's National or could have been something like that.
Mhm.
But um, I do remember you came up and immediately I was like, oh, this guy's an AP student. Like I didn't have to explain things to you.
Uh-huh.
You were telling me stuff. So I'm like, oh, the sick to well visit ratio. And you're like, here's mine. And I'm like, no one has ever given me theirs. I've
Oh,
always
yes.
had to figure
You have the
theirs
same
out.
memory. Wow.
And
Yes.
yeah, and so, and what I really appreciated is, it's true. I think you have maybe, well, I don't know how you would measure it, so I don't know how you have the most but you're one of the most deliberate pediatricians I've ever met. Like everything you do, you're like, why am I doing this? Is this necessary? And is there a better way to do this? I mean, you ask yourself those questions all the time. And there's so many elements of the way your practice runs, which you're going to describe in a second,
Mm-hmm.
that where you've said, this is how I want to do it, and here's why. And what I always appreciate about it is it's always in service of the patient.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the
Mm-hmm.
best thing for the patient? Because you recognize that you are in the service business,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard lesson for a lot of doctors
Yeah. Yeah.
to really embrace.
Yeah.
Once you do,
I'm
though,
always
it opens
floored
everything.
when I see a patient they call that morning and we see them for a sick visit, whenever they want to come in and they're
Yeah,
like, thank you so much for fitting us in. I'm thinking, well, thank you so much for coming in. I'm like, shouldn't I, like, it's my job to fit you in. I'm like, your child is sick. Of course I'm going to fit you in. Like but people are
right.
so used to like almost being a favor to get into their doctor that day when their child's sick or they need them or to get advice when they need it. I'm like, no, this is my job. Like, I'm going to
Well,
make this work.
one reason that works for you, though, is because you don't bring everyone in
Yes.
who just calls.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, so many practices depend, and I'm hearing a lot right now from practices because their sick visits have dropped
Mm-hmm.
at the end of at the beginning of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
26, end of 25, their sick visits have dropped, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are panicking. I'm getting more consulting calls right now than I've had in months because visits are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are all like scrambling to get people in, where you're always like, if you don't need to come in, I don't
Mm-hmm.
need you to come in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that gives you this. So that means when someone calls and you know that they need to come in, you're like, I want to see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I want to see you not
Yeah.
because it's one more 992 and 3. I want to see you because I want to take care of the kid. And that comes
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
The parents get that.
Right. 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 I try not to overdo it. Like I try to not keep them from coming in. So we have a really good system with our portal because we use the patient portal for 99% of our communications. And then people
Yep.
ask us questions all the time. And we try to keep it very simple. One template is I have a question or an appointment need. And they write their message. They click at the bottom. It says, I don't need an appointment. I'm not sure if I need an appointment. I definitely want an appointment. Then if you pick maybe an
Yep.
appointment, you click, when do you want to come in? And we look at that and I say, okay, you need an appointment. You'll come in this time. And we match whatever they want. So we know early on when they're writing in, are you thinking you might need to come in? Or are you not sure? Or do you definitely want to come in? Because we kind of want to meet them where they are. If they definitely want to come in,
Yep.
just so I can look at their
Yep.
child's whatever, like I'm happy to do that. But if they're like, not sure if I need an appointment, then I'll tell them that you don't need to come in. Or come in if this happens. So kids are wonderfully healthy in general. So sometimes just giving a little
Right.
bit of advice in an extra day or two is just all you need to get through. And I really try
Right.
to prevent over prescribing and over testing. And the best way to prevent that is to not have them come into your office because once they're there, you almost feel compelled to start doing some testing or things because they made the effort to come in. They're paying a copay and things. It's almost like they bought their way into your office. Anyway, so it works for us also because um, I think we've created a really good experience for our family. So they're happy to be with us. We have very little turnover. We have great referrals. So we're as busy as we need to be, doing it the way we want to do it.
Yep.
And it's worked for us. So we're going to keep doing it.
Well,
I'm
going to,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I was going to, I'm going to tell you something about your practice
yeah.
that you probably know because I've sent this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I want to look something up. Let me see if I can look this up. I want to get a sense of with your appointments. Hold on here. I'm looking up a report for your practice. You ready?
I love reports, of course.
Yeah, I know you do. You ready?
You and I think we got a 5 on the AP score for data nerds.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
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 If they had that back in
Huh?
school, I would have done that.
Uh-huh.
So last quarter,
Mm-hmm.
all right, first quarter 2026,
Mm-hmm.
you did 2,570 visits. 2,524 of those visits were for patients who had a portal user, or 98%.
Yeah.
Okay. 45%
Mm-hmm.
of your patients used the pre-check-in process.
Mm.
Okay. Which means just under half of your patients had reviewed their demographics and their address and their insurance before they got to
Mm-hmm.
your office,
Mm.
before they went to the exam
Mm-hmm.
room. And that's what we're seeing, all right,
Yeah.
is a really a fascinating range. I have a bunch of clients who don't use pre-check-in at all, which boggles the mind. And I have some clients, I've spoken to a client yesterday who was at 98% pre-check-in. And yes, or you don't have to raise your hand,
No. Okay. 2 comments. A little puzzled
Yeah.
here. I did raise my hand, and I did a real raise hand, not just a virtual raise hand, which
Yeah,
really
I know.
throws me. It's like a graphic. It's like it's too distracting to me. First of all,
Yeah.
I want to know why 2% of our patients are not on the portal, because I think it should be 100%. So I'd be curious to see who that 2% is.
I can tell you why. Yep.
And number 2 is really do the pre-check-in. I tried it. It didn't work for us because we can do it better in a different way. But all of our patients do Chattis for their checkups. I would say that's about 99%. So maybe what you're seeing is that
Yep.
they go to their portal and they're live in their portal right before the checkup,
Uh-huh.
but they're not clicking on a pre-check-in button.
They are.
This is so
I believe they
puzzling,
are.
Chip.
That's how we measure.
We have to.
We'll have to
I
dig
really have
into
to
it.
say that. We again. I'm all about the what's best for the families, what's most efficient, and though pre-check-in.
Wait, I need to correct myself. You are right. I was looking at the wrong section of the report.
Okay, good.
So exactly 0% of your patients did pre-check-in.
Which fits to your mind-boggling patient that do 0%. I will tell you why I do 0%, and I could help you do the better pre-check-in. We tried pre-check-in
Yep.
because I wanted to give it a run, and it just didn't.
Yep.
We don't have the problems with our demographics insurance. Like we're good. And so the problem with the pre-check-in was that it was a little clunky, and I really don't want my patients doing more work, my family's doing more work before they come in. When they don't have to do it, and I don't want to hit them with too much stuff. So
You're not a practice who has a line at the front desk. You don't
no,
have 8 people in your waiting room.
we would have a line anyways, because people come in so the insurance eligibility verification is something we do religiously. We're going to, and my billing person the day before they come in, or they're going to say, hey, your insurance isn't active. Send us your new insurance card. But we don't need to ask insurance. We already know before they come in it's active. And then the person walks in, and my wonderful receptionist, she says, hey, has anything changed in your address, insurance, anything updates? Nope. Okay, good. You're checked in. That's it. That's so why make them go through a process of clicking on things or doing things? We did fine. So I use job forms. I use a HIPAA compliant version of job forms because I found that when I was doing
a lot of people
pre-check-in,
do. Yep.
it kind of limited to the fields I could use, and it was asking patients questions I didn't really need to know, and I couldn't customize it the way I wanted. So if you ever let the pre-check-in do exactly what I wanted, I might use it, but it wasn't exactly. So the job forms I can customize exactly what I want, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
And when we build these tools, obviously we have a broad range of practices we need to build them for. And the fact that the thing is, you have a process where you collect this stuff.
Yeah.
Where you you review the demographics, and you have a very very high touch practice, and not everyone does. All right.
Yeah.
And so that's what the pre-check-in is really valuable for the practices.
Oh, I think it's great for
you know.
practices that are struggling with updated insurance and demographics, and I think it's a great way of sort of getting that information in. But I try to practice a little old school. People call. I don't have a recording. I don't like phone trees when I call places. We answer the phone.
I agree.
And anyone answer. We cross train really well. So my medical assistant will schedule an appointment. My nurse will answer. But everybody answers the basic questions on the phone. And we have a good phone system where anybody can pick up a phone anywhere. And our phones don't ring very often because of the portal, which is really the focus here using the portal.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I just try to find when people come in, we don't have the medical assistants get histories from the families or the doctors do it. We don't want our people to repeat themselves or to, to go through extra steps. And so
Well,
it's worked.
we should describe your practice though. We've
Oh,
had
yeah.
this whole conversation
Okay.
about your practice. So you started your
Yes.
practice. There you were.
Yes.
Tell us where you are now.
Okay. Right.
Tell us
Well,
where you are now.
wait, so I started in 2000. Okay. I finished residency in 2000 and I joined a group practice for a couple years. It was a great practice. It was a thriving, growing practice. But then when we started talking to the more senior doctors about long-term goals and visions, it just didn't seem to match my long-term goal and vision of practicing. And I had always
Uh-huh.
wanted to be a primary care pediatrician. I mean, this is like, when I was 5 years old, I'm like, I'm going to have a practice. I'm going to do primary care pediatrics. It always just fascinated me. And the kids are so much fun. And so I kind of knew I wanted to do this. And so this was a great opportunity a couple years out of residency then to like, hey, I'm going to open up my own practice. So I was like, well, I want to do this right. I'm not going to rush to open, you know, my wife was very supportive of this, and so we were okay to, financially we didn't really have many expenses. I think we might have had one kid at the time, or yes, one baby. But babies aren't very expensive; they're not going anywhere fancy. So anyway, so we had the flexibility to really take our time and build the practice. So it took me. So I went to work in the hospital for years, a hospitalist, which was the last thing in the world I thought I would do, finishing residency. But I did that for years. Great experience. So I really
Okay.
became better at higher acuity care in the office, and then I opened the practice, and I really thought early on, like, I want to open up like a special practice. Like I don't want it to be like, I want it to be an experience that is very relaxing for the families and the patients. Like I want to design something different. I don't know what it
Mhm.
was, but I wanted to, I don't, doctor's offices, I mean, you can look at a doctor's office now and 30 years ago and the furniture might have changed, but they all look the same, like the windows and when you walk in, I was like, you know what?
Yep.
This is the most
Yep.
stressful place for families. Like, why don't we do something better? You walk into a spa or a nice hotel or something, and it's like you get a feeling you get. Um, you know, dentists sometimes do this, some specialists do it. I was like,
Yep.
why don't we do it? Why can't we do it? And I think a lot of practices don't because practices financially, some do better, some do worse, but they tend not to go out of business, so they still get by. So they think they're doing okay, but I just wanted us to be better. So I did a lot of research and did a lot of thinking and looking around, and I decided, well, first of all, we're going to only do things that are in the best interest of the children, like our policies, our procedures, and our things. We're going to set up right. And then we're going to design an office space that reflects that. And that's been one of the best decisions ever because I'll tell you about our office space. Like we design an office space that is unlike any office space most people have seen. It doesn't look like a doctor's office, and it works so well for the families that they love visiting. The kids love it, and the families look at the detail and the attention we put into it, and they think, well, if you have that level of attention detail to your office space, you
Mhm.
might provide that level of care to my family, and I think we do, and I'm
Right.
happy to say that I think that's true. But that's the feeling they get. So
Describe your office a little bit.
well, so it's like a small town. Picture being in like a European
Oh, I
small
never
town
thought of
and the
that.
feeling. Well, that's
Yeah,
what it
it's
is.
almost like a little Richard Scarry
Yes. Well, it's not
book,
busy town. It's not busy town. It's like
it's up,
yes.
but it's has that it don't, but it has that sort of
Well, I'll tell you how
um
I got the idea. Like this was back in
okay.
2000. Like there weren't really the internet wasn't as helpful. Like there weren't really smartphones. You couldn't really find things. And I had this picture. Like I wanted this. Like one of the most relaxing experiences people have is being like in a small town, like a cobblestone street, and like in a Europe, like Paris or someplace where it's just like it's a feeling. It's a nice feeling. So I was in a bookstore one day, a real bookstore, and I was just looking through like maybe coffee table books, and I found this artist. His name is John O'Brien. I think he's since passed away,
Okay.
unfortunately. And he painted these pictures of these street scenes of Europe. And I'm like, this is exactly the vision I'm looking for. I want it to feel like this and look like this. So we found a designer, and I went to our designer and said, hey, I want to create this. Let's make this. And we used that as our model of how the office is going to
Mhm.
look. And I have actually a huge frame, one of his pictures in my office by my desk because that was the inspiration for the design. So you walk in, we have lounge chairs, we have awnings, we have plants, we have a fountain, we have
Mhm.
custom built wood pergola with benches. And we have a tiles that looks like a cobblestone road. We have shutters and murals. It's hard to describe. We have pictures and videos on our website. And then,
Yep.
so that's kind of like when you walk in the feeling, and we have music, we have instrumental music overhead and the fountain running and the atmosphere. So you walk in and you feel like you're in a different, like there's no windows. My receptionist sits behind, underneath an awning with a nice countertop, and it's open and airy. And, so and we have flower boxes. It's just all the elements that you might see in this vision. So that's like the main areas. But then the exam rooms, then we took that to a different level. So I thought these exam rooms, I'm like, well, these exam rooms have got to be special. So each exam room is almost like a part in the town. So we have these metal signs on each door saying what part of the town are you going to. So when I first built the office, and early on, we had a zoo. We have a zoo, a fire station, a train station, a cafe room. And you open up the door and you're in a different world in these rooms. And so we decorate them and design them in a way that you really feel like you're in that place. And so, like, for example, I have this fire truck exam table, and I love this table. It's beautiful. It really looks like a fire truck. There's steps in it. And I was like, well, I don't want to put like because then what to sell you the fire truck table. I said, well, here's some decals of like firemen and fire scenes, and you put it on your walls, and that's it. It's like, no, we're gonna make it like a fire station. So in our fire station, we have like decorative antique fire hats on it, and everything is up high. So anything that the kids can't reach, they're not supposed to touch. So it's up high. Anything that they can reach, they can touch. And we went to the fire station, and he said, hey, do you have any like old fire equipment we can have? And they gave us a real fire hose that they don't use anymore. This thing is so
That's
heavy.
amazing.
And we built a box around it, and we have on the wall a real fire hose. It's beautiful. And a fire hose. We have a ladder. We had to build it. So we built a wood ladder against the wall. And anyways, you get the feeling it's in, and it's a bright yellow room. And it's I mean, the kids, they jump and they run, and it's parents like, don't play. It's not a park. I'm like, yeah, they kind of jump in here. It's okay. It's for them to have fun. And then when we did the train station, I was like, I couldn't find a train table that looked the way I wanted. So I did my research, and I designed out of like balsa wood, like old school balsa wood. Like I built a scale model of the train table I wanted, and I worked with the contractor. I was like, hey, I need you to build this for me. I need you to make it look like this and that. And it worked out perfectly, although it can never be moved because it was assembled inside the room because it wouldn't fit through the door. So,
Okay.
and so I really have fun with it. I go with it, and then we only add things, and to just to that point, we haven't changed these rooms. I mean, the way they are is kind of how we started because they've just worked so well. And the only problem is, one room is cool in the other room, so the kids complain they want to go to a train station, not the fire station. They love the zoo, and so the rooms worked out really well, and it's helped the practice. And I encourage any other practice who wants to do it like this, please take our ideas, go to our website, look at the pictures, and just copy them. It's there, please do it. And then because we were getting good referrals and growing, and I've solo practiced for a long time because I kind of work best with myself. And I just enjoyed the slow growth. I was able to model the growth and saw that, well, at this rate, if I take every patient that transfers to us, I'm going to be full in like 4 years. Right? I'm going to be full. I don't know. The people are transferring in. It's like, and I don't really like those relationships because I really want to help them with every aspect of their child care. And I didn't know them. They came in for one sick visit checkup, and I could spend hours without even having a history. So like, this doesn't feel great. So I'm getting really good referrals for the young and the newborn. So I was like, you know what, let's just take 4 and under. Let's just do 1 and under. And then within a few years, I was like, let's just only take newborns. And even though I had a lot of room in the practice, like I wasn't full by any extent, I was like, well, this is how I want to grow. I want to grow like this. So we only took newborns for a while. So my super fun toddler rooms, the cafe was like almost like an older kid, were great. But then all my newborns became like 10 or 11 years old. And I was like, holy moly, it doesn't feel right putting them on a fire truck exam table. They don't even fit on these tables anymore. So then I was fortunate that I had space to expand the office. And so right before COVID, I was able to add more rooms. That's when we added our teenager rooms, which are not the toddler-proof rent. Toddlers do not go in those rooms because those are not meant to be toddler-proof rooms. So we have an art gallery room. We have a music room, which is my favorite room. It has over 30 like real orchestra instruments bolted to the wall.
Real instruments. Yep.
Real instrument. Yes, yes, we have.
Some of them need tuning because
No,
the
yeah.
ADD kid went in there
Oh,
and was
yeah.
like, oh, wait, does this actually
Yes,
work?
you are welcome to touch them and play with them and things. I've had to replace the bridge on the violin a few times because that's fallen off, but that's okay. It's fun. It's
Yeah,
good.
that's all right.
And so yeah, and it's great because the families when they have the younger kids, they don't go to those rooms, and there comes an age when they go to those rooms, and they'll be like, "I've never been in these. I've been here for years. I've never been in these rooms." I'm like, yeah, well, your child's older. You just and then therapy being a big part of our practice, we built a couple dedicated rooms to our therapists that were off to the side, and she has her own therapy room. It's a beach theme room. We also built a waiting room for her. It's this wonderful mid-century theme library waiting room for her with a separate entrance. So we added those rooms, and yeah, we try to just make the office flow. So when you walk from one end of the office to the other, it kind of flows in a way, like the colors, the themes, the feels, like you're in a cohesive place. And if all goes as planned, hopefully within the year or so, we're going to expand some more just for long-term planning so we can grow into the space. We're lucky that where we are in our building. Oh, one piece of advice, rent a bigger space than you need if you think you're going to do well in your space. If you feel like you're confident that we're going to do well, because I think one of the hardest things to do is move offices. And it's probably harder to have an office that's way too small for your volume because you're cutting corners. People can't be in the rooms. You have to do
Yeah.
them. So I was very fortunate that the office space I chose in 2007, I chose because it was my favorite office space. First floor, all glass atrium building, beautiful building, big parking lot. And it happened to be much bigger than I needed, but it was in our budget-ish. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take it. And that was one of the best decisions because I ended up growing into that space very well over
Yep.
many years. And
And when you can afford it,
yeah,
not everyone can, but when you can afford it and get that space, it gets you motivated to sublet it to someone who could complement your work.
yeah, absolutely. It just gives you options. It gives you options. And you
Right.
know, and if after like 3, 4, 5 years, you're just not using this, and you're just like, this is not my thing. Maybe the growth is slower than you expected. Then you can always change. But it's very hard to run a practice smoothly when you're very tight on space. So you just need
Yeah.
extra exam rooms. You don't want to rush your families. You want your exam rooms to be a little bit bigger. Just more options. I've redesigned
Yep.
like our lab space. I've redesigned about 3 times. I'm not afraid to rip out cabinets from the walls. Like those cabinets don't work for me anymore. Or if we need more
Right.
desk space, then just take out some of your bottom cabinets and you have more desk space there, or move them over and stuff. So it's like a hobby of mine, the practice and investing in the practice and just trying to make it work. And I think we've been successful. I'm very happy with it. It's just like it's a hobby of mine. And so the two things that I go by, Chip, are like what's in the best interest of the patients and the families, like what's going to make this practice
Yep.
a better experience, and what's going to keep me from burning out. Okay, so those two things have to work in alignment. Okay,
Mhm.
so there's an occasional decision where I will do in the best interest of me, Stephen Hirsch, and the other doctors in my practice, because now we have 2 other doctors, so they don't burn out. So, for example, I never had weekend hours. And I knew for some families that could be a deal breaker because I want to go to you on Saturday. Well, as a solo provider for many years, I'm like, well, I can't work many long hours, 5 days a week, and then go in on the weekends. Like, I need some time with the family, I need some time to recharge. So I didn't add weekend hours. And we have good urgent cares. Now we have very good urgent cares in our area that we refer to. So it's worked okay. And we still get referrals for it. I feel like, when I'm in the office that Monday to Friday, or someone's in the office, we're going to provide the best care you're ever going to get. So it's okay we're not there on the weekends. Plus, if we've trained you that you don't need to go see somebody, that's the other thing, is that if you've trained families
Yep.
that when the kids are sick with symptoms, or they have like a cold, or they have a fever, but they're fully vaccinated, they don't have to run to your office. Then when Saturday comes and they have a fever, they don't run to the urgent care because oh no, I know what Dr. Hirsch tells me to do. We're good. Let's wait a couple days. Let's see. So they rely upon you less for the urgent weekend visits. So
Right.
yeah. So no,
No.
it's not urgent. Yeah. In their mind, it's urgent, but who knows? Who knows? But,
Right.
or convenience and stuff. So we do, but what we have done those because we don't weekend hours. Now that I've expanded the office, we have other doctors. We've expanded our weekday hours. I think we have, compared to other practices our size, we have more accessibility weekday hours, which families appreciate. And then hiring doctors, I've
Mhm.
been fortunate enough that I've been able to hire doctors relatively easily when we've been looking, because I think, telling the younger doctors they're not going to work weekends, and main holidays were closed. And even though we get busier, I can't imagine ever adding weekend hours because we do fine without it. And the patients, I think as a smaller practice, they kind of respect that, we need some time off too.
Well, I think one of the issues is that you are so preventive care and well visit focused.
Yeah.
And not you are pre-planned visits overwhelmingly. All right. And not like, oh, I need to see a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the practices who lean more towards acute care need to be open on weekends because otherwise it doesn't work. But you're like, no, you're coming in for a well visit. I'm going to give you all the attention. I'm going to teach you how not to have to come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Monday through Fridays, that's what people don't want to come in on Saturday for a well visit overwhelmingly. That's their time off too.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons that succeeds.
Yeah. I think.
Now, you ready?
Yep.
Well, I'm going to tell you something.
Oh, yes.
Because you said something that triggered me a little bit.
And
I remember earlier I said you had like 2,500 visits, right? I just looked it up. And the reason I'm doing this is because I have your report in front of me. That's why I was like, oh, I wonder how it's doing.
Give me the numbers.
You did, in fact, get eligibility reports for 99.8% of your patients before they showed up in your practice.
Fantastic.
Last quarter.
That's music to my
ears. All right. And so if I go back through the quarters, you're at like 9.2 thing. The thing is you averaged, and let me see if this is true. In other words, like, oh yeah, things go up and down, but like, it's interesting. I don't know what the variability is, but in the first quarter of 2026, you averaged 3.8 eligibility checks per visit. And a bunch of those are automated. All right.
Right.
Like most of those are automated.
Right. That means how many times somebody went in to look at it. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because you look at the whole day and like 3 or 4 days before you're going to look at it. And if there are people that are not active yet, you're going to go in and like, you're going to keep looking at it until they're all active or send them a portal message.
Yep. That's that 3 I say this, I haven't established an official benchmark, but I think for PCC clients, it's about 3 eligibility checks per visit. All right. You might be slightly above average there.
Yeah.
Because it's done automatically for you, and then you can do it in real time. Like, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And you just keep checking until you get that eligibility.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to tell you that after I read the wrong column to you earlier.
So actually, funny about the metrics. So I think metrics are great, and the metrics are very helpful to feel you want to improve or not. So Chip, you probably remember this, but several years ago, probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, you were in town, and I was doing a little collaboration with the other practices, and the four practices we met you. We hired you because non-PC as our consultant to come in at a very reasonable fee. Thank you, Chip. And usually give me your data, give me everything. I'm going to present your practices, and I'm going to show you your numbers up front. And I was very happy with my numbers. I was like, oh, good. I know what I'm doing. My billing is good. My revenue is good. Everything's good. And then you put up a slide. I'm like, okay, and this slide is about percentage of patients that the 4 practices are doing fluoride varnish. And all 4 of us had zeros across the board. It was like a public shaming thing. I was like, he's like, why are you 4 practices? You are good practices. Why are you not doing this? Like, other practices are doing it. You should be doing it too. It gets paid. It's good care. That was very effective, Chip. For me, I'm all for public shaming.
Oh, okay, good.
If it's a good measure. Yep. So I saw that and I was like, oh, you're right, Chip.
It triggers doctors when you don't get an A on a test.
Yes. It was just funny that you even put up a slide just to for all zeros. And I was like, you know what, Chip? Okay, this is my thing. So then at the next NCE I went to, they had a training session for it. So I went to the training session and I learned it. Yeah, they trained you how to do it. And then I ordered the right one because at that time, there's some of them required like wet mouth and some was okay with the dry mouth. The dry mouth is easier. So I ordered the right one. And then we started doing the thing about the practice, because I'm like the only partner, the only owner, is that decisions are sort of all or none in this. So I'll think through decisions. I'll talk through other people. But once we do something, we're going to do it all, right? So once we figured out our system and our flow for the varnish, we just started doing it. And now we went from probably 0% to not 100% because some patients decline and stuff. But for anyone that's eligible, we just started doing it. So anyways, that was a good use of not good data points to encourage you to do better.
We know at PCC when we turn on a dashboard measure or we start publishing any sort of KPI, we immediately see behavior change in our practices. like instantly. Yeah. AR was the big one. The first time that we started it was really the first benchmark we ever shared with people was AR days. Because so many of our clients, we went out and surveyed all our clients. This is like almost 20 years ago. We were like, what are the things that keep you up at night? Which you're about to answer that question. And they said, oh, the insurance companies are making us jump through more hoops. My staff is really difficult to manage. Our AR control. And you notice, what are the things that keep you up at night? All said, I'm really bad at coding. None of the things that they can change. It's all what other people can change. So, but we took it at face value when we went looking, and I was like, this is back in the 90s. Okay. I was like, PCC clients' average AR days is like 29. And back then the MGMA average was like 30, 35. I said, I don't think that's the problem. Published everyone's AR, we gave each practice their own AR and showed them where they were in the distribution. And like within 6 months, everyone's AR was down to like 23 days.
Nice.
Because they were like, oh, we can't do this. They just started cleaning it up. They cleaned it up. And you can see on the old dashboard reports, what they were billing reports back then. You could see in the old billing reports, I could say, that's where we published that one.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the behavior changes. It's pretty funny.
I would, if you ever want to do this data point, I would love to see, I think there's practices, independent practices, that some practices are feeling burned out in doctors and some aren't, right? And I'd like to see if there's a data point that would track that. And I've always thought that maybe the sick visit to checkup ratio would track that well. I'd be curious to see if you did an informal survey and just say, on the scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel burned out? Do you feel like you're rewarded in your daily life, or however you want to describe it? And then see if those practices that feel less burnt out, because the sick visits can burn you. It's a volume thing. On my day, I might see 20 patients, whereas a sick visit heavy practice could see 35. And that wears on you. I don't know. I'd be really curious to see, or if there's some metric or number.
It'll be interesting.
That other than just the finances, like, oh yes, financially better practices, maybe less burned out because they have more resources, but still, is there something else to it?
I did do a survey once of people. When I talked to them, instead of asking specifically about burnout, I asked about work-life balance, which was just an alternative way to get to it. The single biggest thing that I found that affected it, because this was a broad survey and this included non-PCC clients, so I couldn't look up their numbers. But what I came back with was, by far, the single biggest negative correlation with work-to-life balance was how many days a week on call you are.
Really?
Whether or not you're on call. Oh, yes. And so the people who are like the solos who are on call all the time, they had the highest burnout ratio, let's call it. And the people who had no call, because there's a bunch of people who don't have any call, they were like, oh yeah, I could do this for another 10 years. And it was that ability to be able to check out of the practice, to not have call.
Yeah.
At second place was the ability to take a vacation.
Yeah.
Those had a big effect. I know your point's very valid.
Yeah.
I'm going to ponder that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ponder that.
The on-call thing's interesting, because when I opened the practice, I had left a group practice of 5 doctors. And when I was on call that one day a week or that one weekend a month, it was busy. Like do not go to a movie, do not in the winter. It would be like, oh, hi, doctor, you have 6 calls. It was so busy. And yes, it was life-changing. Then when I opened the practice, I found that because we educated them and we trained them and we taught them how to manage sicknesses and how to manage them at home, I didn't get called that often. And I'm sure I got called at wellness sometimes, but it really wasn't bothersome enough to me. And so I never shared call with another group. I did it myself. And then.
But my guess is when people call you at night, it's for things that are worth calling about.
You'd think that would be true all the time. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's like, really?
No, but at a higher rate. At a higher rate. I'm just saying,
that definitely is a burnout. When a doctor is, trying to get some family time on a Sunday, and it's like, oh, hey, I want to see if my kid had the tetanus shot because they just, scraped their foot, or like, oh, you can see on the portal, or they have a runny nose, and I'm afraid tomorrow is going to be off daycare, so we just need to come in early tomorrow morning. I'm like, that's going to make burnout, but and I really didn't feel burdened by it. And I could go about my business at the calls. And then when I added other doctors to practice, I still took the call myself, because I was so used to it. And
Right.
Well, what we did, Chip, just to that point is that now that we're bigger enough, and I was going to have the other doctors start taking call, and they have little kids, and so maybe not something they're as interested in doing call. We actually signed up with a call service for the first time ever this past
Yep.
December. It's new, and it's a local company, and it's where basically they do the triage because we're open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday. Friday is like 8 to 3, 8 to 4. So we have longer hours, but they take the call the minute we close to the minute we open. And they
Yep.
have a doctor on staff till midnight every day who would do a video visit too. So it's like better service because we don't do video visits when
Yep.
we're not home.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
that's been great, I think, because now I don't have to think about the call.
Yep.
And that other doctors, when I'm
Mhm.
recruiting other doctors, I say, well, you're going to take call, but not really.
Yeah.
Like you might get
Not
one call a
yep.
week or one call a month from this call service because they have to tell you about a bilirubin or a new baby that they want to tell you about. But for the most part, and we don't round in, I think most practices or many practices don't round in the hospitals anymore. That was a big thing to prevent
Not
burnout
like they
because
used to. Yeah.
that was hospital rounds for the newborns was hard because I could have my day all planned. And then at 4 a.m, I get a call about a newborn that has to be seen within 24 hours. So I have to see him that morning, which is hard. So I already had my morning planned, or I have to go right after work. And then that's an hour. So I think getting rid of that is definitely, or pushing that over to the
That
hospital
is
staff.
no question.
That's
I don't
that.
know anyone who says, "I wish I still rounded."
No. And I guess you might give up some referrals, maybe the practices that's still around might get a few extra, but at the end of the day, and I think patients don't mind it. They get it. They know that we work really hard and they're happy that we're in the office. At 8 a.m., I want to be in that office answering messages and not in a hospital, visiting a family that with a healthy baby who's going to take an hour of our
Yep.
time. So I think that's been
No,
helpful.
you're right about all those things.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I think interesting, the sick visit check, there's been several times in the life cycle of the practice where I've been very happy that we don't focus on sick visits because it will come to bite you if you rely upon sick visit many times. And the best example was COVID. My goodness, because when COVID came, sick visits kind of stopped pretty much.
Yeah.
And what was the only thing that
largely
continued?
disappeared.
What was the only thing that continued was check
Well visits
on
It was
babies.
well visits.
Well visits on babies.
Yeah.
Right?
Visits on babies. I have the
Yeah.
data. They never moved.
No-
Well visits on babies never
not for
moved.
8 months and 29 days.
Right?
Because the family got pregnant the day before COVID became a big deal. They
Yep.
were going to have that baby. So,
Yep.
we all took a hit financially, of course, but our curve was a little bit smoother because we didn't. And then once it opened up that summer, when we were able to start having checkups come in, we got everybody in before school started. That was our goal, and so we rebounded pretty quickly that summer. And then on the other end of the spectrum is when so no kids got sick during COVID, but it wasn't like they were never going to get sick. They just were going to all get sick at once. And there was that one
Right.
summer and fall that was bonkers. And we were
Well, every October, it depends. Every October-ish, 21, 22, 23, those were the busiest in history.
Yeah.
24 was about even with 23, and 25 is back down towards 2018 levels. And that's what I'm saying nationally.
It's amazing.
Everyone's
So I think the practices that were dependent on sick visits, I think they got overwhelmed. I mean, we were busy. I mean, we were keeping our heads up, but I think I can't imagine the volume we saw and then make that expensive. Yeah, it's great, but for that short period of time, it can overwhelm the system in a way that's not fun. So yeah, I think it just, and every month, I like the dashboard. I always look at our overdue checkups. We schedule checkups a year in advance. So they don't leave the office without their next checkup scheduled. And as long as we can stay on time for our checkups and make them very valuable to our families, like they feel like they've accomplished something that their 13-year-old is better for them coming for their checkup, then they're going to take the kid out of school because it's quick. We get them in and out. We do things. We talk about important things. And so they'll schedule a year in advance during the school day because we'll get them in and out. So when every month comes and I look at our dashboard and I look at the overdue checkups, we just have a handful of kids. I mean, everybody
I'm going to
needs
tell
their
you something
checkup.
else about your practice that maybe you do, maybe you know, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
I don't have an official benchmark right now because I've only been looking at things by hand and working through clients. One of the things we've been measuring is the amount of time that a patient spends in the office.
Yeah.
It's impossible to accurately measure how much time the patient spends with the doctor because everyone behaves differently. Everyone has a different level of discipline marking like where the patient is in the process. But everyone is pretty good about marking when the patient checks in and then when the nurses say the patient's gone, because then that room opens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are two, like the beginning and the end, we know. And what I've been seeing, it's really interesting. What I've been seeing is that for most practices, the average length of time from when they check in, now that could be waiting for their appointment, getting dressed, maybe even nursing in the office, doesn't matter. But between when they check in and when they check out, the sweet spot for most practices is about 50 minutes, 50 to 55 minutes. All right. That is, so if your appointment's
Even
at
for sick
11,
visits,
you can,
too?
yeah, this is across all visits. Okay. This is across all visits.
Yeah.
All right. I can break it down by visit type, but I'm just looking broadly.
Yeah.
But that means for a mom, every visit to the pediatrician is an hour on average. Yeah. From when a patient checks in to when a patient checks out, for you, Stephen Hirsch, it's 34 minutes.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
I saw it. I saw it and I was like, there's my outlier. So finally, I saw someone who wasn't hitting 50.
Yeah.
Now, once I look at it, that's a KPI. I don't know if it's a KPI.
Yeah.
That's where I want people. But you'll know right now.
Yeah.
As I look at even high volume practices.
Oh, I got it. We have office meetings every week. I got to tell our patient tell our staff about the 34 minutes. Very proud of that. Thank you, Chip.
Okay.
But I'll tell you something, Chip.
All right.
So
right now. Yep, please.
Sorry. It's just to encourage other practices to do whatever we do. Is that for checkups, you might think, well, we probably don't do anything for checkups. You probably just weigh them and check them out and talk to them and send out. I was like, no, we do every Bright Futures test. If there's a Bright Futures test because it's evidence based, we're going to do it for our family. So we've done, even before it was sort of common to do it, we figured out a way to optimize our workflow to do all the Bright Futures. So we do all the mental health screenings. We do postpartum depression screening for all moms for 6 months. We do autism screening, developmental screening, mental health screening. Our teenagers are so fast.
Wait. Let me just make it. PC listening to this podcast, just to put this in context, Stephen Hirsch does not like it when he doesn't get a perfect score on it. He wants award. They do the work. They're organized and they have a process. And they're consistent.
A workflow. You have to. It has to flow. Yep. And it starts with for our teenager checkups can take a long time. So when they come in, we have a Chattis survey. We've done Chattis for many years that has 4 teenage screening tests. It used to have one at a time that they have to click and enter. We give them a second one. Then we ask the folks at Chattis, can you design us where the 4 surveys just lead into each other so they can go continuously? And they did. So we give the teenager a tablet when they walk in, and they're whipping through that confidential, without their parents watching or doing. And then by the time they get to the room, they've already done the 4 surveys we need. The MAs go to Chattis. It actually goes to PC. It syncs to PCC now, which is great. And we've done that. And I think those screening tests are really, really important. Big part of Bright Futures is asking those questions.
Can't agree more.
And then having a system.
Can't agree more.
Having a therapist in the office, Chip, that was a great thing we added years ago, because I think a lot of practices are intimidated with some of the mental health screening because you get a lot of flags and you're like, oh, this is a flag. And
now what do I do?
And do I sit here and talk to you about a half hour about managing the situation? Or do I give you a community referral, which won't happen because either they're cash only practices, there's a wait list, they can't get in, they have no availability, or do you have your therapist in the office who can see them that week? And so we're done with the appointment. Hey, you know what? Can I have, and we have a workflow where we'll do an internal referral for mental health therapy that goes to our scheduler and then she'll get the message and she'll call the family that day and say, hey, when can you bring your son in? We have an opening here. So
I think the dam is breaking on that. Yeah. And the secret to that success is that we just need an army of mental health therapists and clinicians.
I think it is. You're right, Chip. The more people co-located, the more these private cash-only practices are feeling a little bit of the lower volume, and the more they have to change their model a little bit. So our therapist, I think she loves the fact that she just gets to see the kids and doesn't have to worry about their insurances. We take the insurances and
everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. You just have to have, this goes back to the extra office space, because the main downside is that you're going to use up 1 or 2 exam rooms. So if those exam rooms were revenue producing rooms for patients, you're not going to win financially, or it's going to best. But if you have the space to build out so that doesn't affect your flow, then it's a win-win situation. So yeah, it's worked out well having that. So
All right. Here, I want someday, maybe I'll have this podcast evolve to where I'm going to have people get their cameras like you are now on their phone, and we're going to walk through practices. That's one thing I want to do.
oh yeah,
Maybe I'll do that, and I'll come back to you. All right. So here I got a couple.
sure,
What's keeping you up?
okay. Well, in full disclosure, nothing really keeps me up at night. I'm
Yeah.
those kind of people that runs very, very ADD hot.
Okay.
When I get in bed,
What figuratively keeps you up at night?
when I stop moving and close my eyes, it's like a magic trick. It's anywhere between 3 to 5 seconds I'm out hold. But the question is, what do I think about when I'm up at 4 in the morning or wide awake for the day? No, I think, I think the obvious answer might be like the state of our healthcare. Okay. Globally, what bothers me is that our healthcare system spends way more money than the outcomes. It bothers me to the core. Philosophically, I don't like that. That's a bigger problem than I try to work on my little community, my little practice there. But I just, it's always bothered me how our outcomes are so poor for the money we spend. Okay. And of course, that bothers me. And also, of course, the state of the anti-vaccine movement, it's bothersome too. It's irksome. It doesn't keep me up at night because at least in our practice, I found that our practice is a very pro-vaccine practice. We're in a suburb of DC.
Yep.
In fact, people wanted vaccines more when this came out.
Mhm.
Like, we had our walk-in vaccine clinics very heavily populated at the beginning. And normally it's a slow trickle until October. So I had to get on the phone and get our vaccines sent sooner. And people who didn't like vaccines, it just reinforced their idea that vaccines are bad. So I think this is going to pass, because at the end of the day, without vaccines, kids get sick and people don't want that. So what keeps me up? I think
Some people don't want that.
some people, yeah.
Most people don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm a little.
Yeah. I think
I have to keep I have to not read the news some days.
it can be irksome at times.
Yeah.
But I think what bothers me is I feel like this is a planted answer, but it's really what bothers me is that when I go to conferences and talk to my colleagues and friends, and these are great doctors, that the level of burnout in independent practice and the lack of success they're finding is too big. And the fact that even, and I've been told this too, that like residency programs in hospitals, they don't really encourage their pediatricians to go out on their own and practice. It's almost like they were funneling them into like hospital and practices or own practices.
There's no question of this. Residency programs create employees.
Yeah. And I think that's, I think that's fine. It worked for some people, but I do think that the independent pediatric practices or independent primary practices, I think that their only focus is on what's in the best interest of the children can outperform any practice who is owned by a hospital, because a hospital, pediatrics is chalk dust, which is kind of true. We're nothing compared to the amount of cardiac surgeries that the hospital can do and their referrals for the higher acuity things. So it kind of bothers me. I wish there was, and I think PCC does a great job helping independent practice stay independent. When I fled my old EMR because they were so unreliable in 2020 and joined PCC, I was like, this is the way to go, because it gets your independence back. And that's your PCC's tagline. It's what is the tagline? It's the PCC is
of this?
No. The PCC has a tagline about being independent, or
tagline. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying timeline.
No. PCC, control your future. Control your
future.
Yes.
Was yes. It used to be work smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. That was a long time ago, and then became control your future, specifically for the reason that you are talking about. It's about autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the ability to make decisions for yourself and your patients.
Yes. Yeah. So the autonomy. And I think COVID put a spotlight on that. Practices that, COVID was so hard. You had to make decisions on the fly. Do we bring this child in or that? What age? Do we offer the COVID vaccine here or when? Do we do COVID testing and things? And if those decisions weren't out of your hands and in the hospital's hands, then that was hard, because you couldn't manage the way you wanted to. So I guess what keeps me up at night, or makes me worry a little bit, is I don't know. I have a feeling more practices are going into the ownership model by like the private equity and hospital than are forming on their own. I don't know that for sure, but maybe that pendulum will swing back. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I can tell you that we've done more startups since COVID than we did in the 10 years before that.
Mhm.
But I mean, maybe 2 or 3 times. So there is a huge movement, but the practices have gotten smaller. A lot of the bigger practices, the people who had the energy and organization to put them together, a lot of them have run out of gas and
Yeah.
they don't have good succession plans.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that get picked off by PE.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's hardship.
there's a lot of that.
If you've been burned, like you had a bad HR experience, I've heard some practices where
Yeah.
en masse, like their entire front desk quits en masse or something, and you've been burned by that. And those couple things happen like that within a year or two. I could definitely see it's like, you know what? I can't do it like this anymore. I need I need to get a paycheck and to be able to go home and not stress over this so much. But
Yeah. I know. I think there's room for both,
yeah.
but the amount that we squished independent practices out, independent practices are less expensive and provide better
Oh
care
yeah.
and have lower burnout.
Without question.
And
Yeah.
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 So,
So
all right. So
I
what
wish we could do.
are you looking forward to though? All right. We talked about what's going wrong in our industry. What are you looking forward to? What excites you?
Oh, well, I'm
What's
an optimist,
cool?
so I look forward to everything.
Yes, you are. Yep.
So actually, I mentioned this before. So the practice is growing well. I'm very happy. I'm looking forward to continuing
Yep.
to grow the way we are in kind of a smart growth pattern. And there's some additional office space that's vacant next to my office. And so I've been
Okay.
practicing now for about 25 years. I have another 20 years to go, maybe more. I'm not sure. But so
Okay.
I want to grow this office. So I'm going to take this opportunity this year to add more space beyond what we need. And I love building the exam rooms are sort of that's my hobby. My dream is to build. So I have more theme
Yep.
exam rooms I'm going to build. Stay tuned. We're going to design
All
some
right.
new things. So I'm really looking forward to that and just kind of enjoying, I'm sort of at the plateau of my career, the hump, I think I'm just going to enjoy the
Yep.
next however many years, just sort of enjoying what we've built and just trying to keep it going that direction. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the PCC conference in Vermont this summer. Looking forward to going to San Diego. Oh, there's another burnout thing. I
Yep.
encourage all the doctors, primary care doctors, to go to the AAP NCE every year. Just find the time,
Get out of
find the
your
resources.
office. Get out of your office.
Get out of your
yeah.
office. We have all of our doctors go. We'll get a covering doctor. Everyone looks forward to it. It's just you feel like you're part of this big community, and the sessions are great. The keynote speakers are great. You see people. You go to the
Yep.
exhibit. Those 3 or 4 days, it recharges you enough that it's worth it. So, and then when you'll learn that one little tidbit that you'll take back to your practice, and it paid for itself.
Makes the whole.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and I don't know, just looking forward to riding the wave, Chip. All the different things
Yep.
that show up, like when Change Healthcare Breach stops sending you 80% of your payments overnight, week after week after week.
Yep.
Whatever
That was
comes up,
painful.
painful. You know who we did get
All
payments
right.
from? United.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic? The company that was responsible for it, somehow their payments came through because they used a different type of clearinghouse. That was the ultimate
Yeah,
irony.
there's a suggestion now. I just read a really great piece, actually, that in terms of healthcare reform, one of the top 5 items was to prevent basically the insurance companies from the verticals,
Yeah.
including
Oh, it's so bad.
I don't know. How did no one go to jail? How did
Yeah.
no one?
And how can insurance companies literally just one day start rejecting things for no reason? And we have to work hard to appeal multiple times to figure out the tricks. It is criminal. I don't understand. Yes, I think you've described them as mafioso very well. It's just, it's okay. That bothers me no end how insurance companies can do random things at random times that it takes us a ton of time and effort just to get back, just to get whole. Talking about the ultimate sort of vertical integration scam is when they'll send you so we try to get electronic payments, right? Everything should be electronic payments, EFTs. On occasion, there's an insurance company that will send you a letter in the mail or a fax, and it's like a virtual picture of a credit card. And it says, hey, get rapid payment, go ahead, cash this. You enter this code as a credit card,
no,
and you will get paid right away. By the way, there's a fee for doing this. And by the way, we own the credit card company. So we're paying ourselves the fee for this one. You're doing, I've told my billing people, under no circumstances do you ever use their credit card. You
Right.
call them and say, stop
People
doing this.
still,
Send us the check.
it's illegal for them to require you to receive payment that way.
Yes.
You can demand, and a lot of people don't realize it. I still have clients, even that was one of my first blog posts, like 800 blog posts ago, was stop taking credit card payments from the insurance company.
It's their credit card. It's like the scam. Yeah. Maybe it's the workaround so they don't call it healthcare. I don't know what it is. It is, they advertise it as, oh, we're on your side, get paid rapidly. This is your rapid payment.
You know the big Blue Cross Blue Shield settlement, right?
I saw that, yeah.
You know, okay. Do you know that's how they're paying people? Is with a credit card.
Could they be the bank that's underwriting that credit card by chance?
The whole thing.
Boy.
It's always like this. This is like organized crime.
It is.
All right, last question.
Yes, sir.
Question. If you could go back to Stephen Hirsch at the beginning of his career, coming out of residency, what advice would you give him?
Man, what? Chip, that's a great question. I would just say, just believe in yourself. I mean, okay. If you want to open up a practice and you look and there's other practices in your neighborhood that are open and seem to be doing it, then do it yourself. Right. So I would just say, just keep, if that's your dream, that's your goal, just keep going. And when you need to change course because something's not working, change course. I don't even know whatever bad mistakes I've made because I just feel like they're learning. This sounds very cliche-ish. I don't know. But yeah, I just feel like you just learn, you make a bad mistake. Whoa, that was a bad idea. I think we got to do something differently. So I don't know. I think I could go back further in time and like tell myself, maybe in high school you should do more activities or sports or things. I don't know. But I don't know. I just kind of just enjoy each day, Chip, and just learn from the mistakes.
You don't strike me as someone who has a lot of regret. And I'm realizing I have to ask this question differently.
Yeah.
Because the way I ask it, it comes across as like, what do you regret? The answer you gave, like have more faith in yourself. That's the kind of feedback I'm looking for, which is like, know what you know now. What would you do differently? And of course, everyone, I would have been a better person in this instance, or I would have bought a bunch of NVIDIA stock or,
right.
But what I'm looking for is like, given the trajectory of your career, is there a place where you realize I could have leapfrogged it by 10 years, or I could have not wasted my time with something?
I think the slow growth is good. I think that you have to be in the right place in your life financially to do these decisions. It takes we had to get a big loan to make this happen, and we had to pay back the loan. So I would say if you have an opportunity where you can do it financially, I think it's either very early on in your careers before your expenses pick up with kids, or maybe later on in your career, or maybe you have a spouse that can financially support, the endeavors or things, or maybe the 2 times to do it. But, I think, I think it's just talk to your colleagues, talk to people that have done it, and just figure things out, and don't be afraid to. I think having the larger office space than we needed was a blessing in disguise, even though we paid more rent because we've grown into it. And I don't really wake up in the morning and regret too many things, because I just feel like everyone can control their destiny and you can change things. And I don't know, Chip. Right. It's a deeper question. I'm sure if I'm my wife here, Jen would be happy to tell you all the things I should be regretting. It should be like, I think you should maybe talk about how you regret maybe doing that in the past, and maybe that was
exactly.
That's why we don't invite you should be a little bit more keyed into some of the things. I would. But I enjoy. I think running a practice and being a pediatrician is a wild ride. Like you literally walk in a room and you don't know what's going to hit you next. And it just keeps it interesting. And I try to, at the end of the day, don't take charting home. I take work home all the time, but it's busy work. I enjoy, but don't take your charting, let your brain be at rest of your patients, or take a little charting home, but don't, here's my small piece of advice. I think we got to go because we're over time, is that don't build a schedule with the number of patients you can see per day. You have to build a schedule with the number of patients you can see and chart per day, because it will make you burn out in a heartbeat if you can physically see 40 patients, but not do 40 charts. So you should space them. So I do most of my charting in the room. I'll have nice quiet pauses and silences with the patients as I'm working through my thoughts and typing. So when I walk out of that room, 95% of patients, I've typed up everything I want to type up. I won't lock the note. I won't, or sign it because I want to review it one more time quickly. But patients that just run from doctors run from room to room without completing those notes, you will burn out because that is hard. And you don't remember everything. Your documentation isn't as good. So I really wish when offices built their schedules, it was built on that philosophy. That's my piece of advice. I'm
gonna chew on that. Like,
yeah.
Thank you. I think I'll see you in July.
Yeah,
I think that's where I'll see you next.
Yes, you're. Are you coming down? No, that's the children's. That's the medical one. You're coming maybe in December if you're coming for that one. Yeah,
in December.
But I'll see you in.
I don't know if they've invited me yet. I couldn't come last year because I had some sort of blocker. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah.
But
I missed you last year.
I've been there for 10 years. Like, I love that. Yeah. That is one of my favorite events, and hopefully
I think they're all your favorite events. I listen to your podcast all the time, and you're like, this is my favorite event. This is my favorite thing. You have favorites.
Children's National. I mean, there are things I love to do.
Yes.
Women in Pediatrics. I'm privileged to be able to go to that. Pediatric CEO, love that. The users conference, obviously. NCE is a little funny. Children's National has the most diverse and attentive crowd, I think, in general, of any of the events I go to.
I'll bring that back to them.
I love going to the Florida event. It's just a totally different vibe, okay? I love some of the smaller events I do. I just did New Hampshire, and it was just a small, tight room, and everyone was great.
Yeah.
But Children's National is this huge room with in crazy diversity. And I'm just talking by diversity. I mean, practice type. And everyone is paying attention. Like people, like I go to some events and people get up and walk around, but at Children's National, they are locked in. And Mark Weissman did an amazing job for years.
Yes,
like
he did.
He really
grew that many years. Yeah, he just retired. So last year was his first year not running it, but or maybe last year was his last year running it. But it's
I'm
fun.
I'm sad for that, but
just
good for him.
Getting out, seeing your colleagues, and just sharing a day off, and it's worth it. Well, and
all right. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Chip.
We'll see.
Thank you for letting me talk, and I'm always happy to get on my soapbox. But I hopefully other practices, listen to your podcast and learn the things that you speak about, and get them going in a good direction.
I need them to see people to see that there's always another way to do
it. And if you're all
right, well, thank you.
And you didn't pay me to plug PCC,
go ahead.
But I'll say if you're not happy with your EMR, just think about changing. That has been one of my best decisions when I was on having the EMR, and it's worth it. You're going to pay the price one way or the other. So either you're going to pay it with your humanity or a little bit out of your pocketbook. But if that's a good piece of advice if you're running into problems. All right, Jim.
Well, I appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Jim.
All right,
Jim. Good seeing you. Take it.
Thank you for listening. More information can be found in our show notes. Production and editing by Chip Hart, Ali Squires, and Chris Forleo. Music by Challenger C. I'm Mark Herney.